How you doing, Ash? How you doing? How you doing, Ian? How are you guys? How are you guys? Yeah, not too bad. Got a couple of hours and then I'm leaving for the airport. My flight's at 8 o'clock. So I just thought I'd just see what's going on post NFP. Some interesting numbers came out today, which was it's interesting. Numbers came out, so you saw the reaction from gold, but you can kind of see a lot of the initial reaction. We've seen a kind of push down, but I think that's just, I think we'll see a continuation up from here. Like on the hourly chart, you could see we created a high low on DXY, so it's kind of coming into this area of demand, which I think it will kind of see a bounce off of this. So I think it's, I think it's short-term momentum for the dollar. I don't really think that's going to change anything significant. I think the Fed is going to need to see a lot more before they can really even consider another rate hike. So yes, the numbers came out slightly more improved than expected. Unemployment rate was less than expected at 3.4. Job openings were better. Average hourly earning was higher. So saw some positives there. But I think we'll need to see a lot more data in terms of a CPI coming in higher. I think CPI is going to be a big one. If we get an uptick on CPI, then I think then we could really see the dollar running. But I think based off of what Jerome Powell said, this is just a market reaction to NFP. And again, like I typically say, news events will cause pullbacks to happen a lot quicker with volume, and that's what we've currently got. So there could be some bullish sentiment in the dollar in the coming days or so, but I think long term, I don't really see that changing much. I don't really see that having much of an impact. So you could see kind of sold off from here, and I think the sell-off was kind of predictable because, and I didn't take it because again, it's news and you kind of don't know, but price kind of came up here. We had this push up here, then we had this pullback, and then price came up and we kind of created equal highs here. We had like a marginal closure above. It was pretty much equal, so we didn't have a decisive close above. So that kind of gave the indication that okay, we've had a 4-hour breaker structure, so we could see a 4-hour pullback. So there was weakness already that kind of came in here, and then obviously as price kind of came down, we just kind of collapsed. And now you could see, where is price rejecting from? Price is now rejecting from that Fibonacci retracement zone, but I wouldn't be overly eager with kind of like trying to buy this just yet. Yes, we're seeing a nice bullish approach here, but in my opinion, I think we could still see like price roll over here and continue further down and come deeper into this to fill out more of this inefficiency before we kind of get a shift. So I think that price is coming to a good region for coming into next week to look for longs. Now we do have this area of demand sitting at this extreme here. So does price come all the way back down here? We'll need to wait and see, and that's where we'll just keep an eye on the lower time frame. Now obviously you know, we're starting to here create some structure. So I would like to see a further sell-off here coming into this, and even if we tap into this and see that shift, then I'll look to trade this all the way back up to correct this entire move, you know, back into this region here. So again, patience. And that's why I think I was looking at some of the trades. I think Kobeb took a trade, and it's like you cannot just be buying into these areas of demand and stuff, because you know it's just so risky, especially when we already know, right? Okay, 4 hours had a change of character. You're already, like I said, over here seeing the M15. We didn't get a clear and decisive push close above. So if there was any consideration of a bullish continuation to the upside, we would have expected a nice clean closure, then price to pull back into this demand, and then potentially to have any thinking of price continuing higher. But obviously that didn't happen, and news was bullish for the dollar. So we saw a, you know, a total sell-off in this. But again, you know, we shouldn't get too far ahead of ourselves thinking, oh, that's it, dollar's tanking, gold is tanking, time to short this, blah blah blah. No, higher time frame is still bullish. You know, the only time I'm now going to be short bias, and that will be on a daily pullback, is going to be if price, you know, takes this out, and then we kind of start to see some retracements and then start to trade it down. But until that point, you know, there's nothing to trade down. We are still bullish, and all we've had is a impulsive pullback. So you know, it'll be interesting to see what kind of happens. You could probably expect volume to slowly start dying down now with it coming to the weekend. So you know, I'm not keen on getting into any positions now. We'll probably see price consolidate more than anything else. But like I said, this is a nice bit of structure. If we can create a break, then we're not relying on price action up here. We've then seen a nice continuation, lower time frame structure being formed as part of this M15. And like I said, I would like to see something like this to then take this all the way back up here, at least to this area of supply before anything else. Just get rid of this. So again, I had this area marked just because it's coming to the end of the day. I'm not overly keen on taking any potential trades. Some of the yen pairs have started to play out pretty nicely, but they've just not given a pullback in terms of trade opportunity. You can see AUD JPY perfectly tapped into this, and then on the 15-minute chart we saw a shift over here, but we've just not had that retracement, which is not to say we're not going to, you know, because if we now mark this area out, we do have this imbalance in this area of demand sitting here. So if price next week can come back into this demand, you know, we had a perfect change of character here. Overall bullish, so the pullback is complete. So if we can get kind of a retracement back into here, we could continue longing this back up into this area of supply as TP1, and then look to take out this previous high and continue pushing up. AUD NZD, so AUD NZD just came back into the extreme of this push. So to be fair, I'm not really looking at much for AUD NZD. Just going to delete this. Euro GBP is overall heading to where I've kind of been calling it for weeks. Down into 0.86400. We could perfectly see had that change of character, pull back into supply. So now this is looking nice for next week. So we had this impulsive move, there was a correction. Now we're taking out this swing structure, and now we're forming this next impulsive leg. So we had this impulsive leg, we had the correction, now we've got the next impulsive leg. All of this inefficiency to fill out. A break in structure. So next week, if we can see something like, potentially like this, pullbacks for continuations to completely take out this low, which it's already done. But it'll be a, you know, if we can get a pullback from here, it's great because we've then taken out the swing structure over here, which will make sense. So Euro GBP is looking good for next week. Euro NZD. So again, I think higher time frame, we've definitely come into a area of supply up into this regions, and you could see on the weekly chart we are getting that bearish rejection, quite strong rejection. So you could see we're in a daily pullback there. Now this price action is pretty choppy, so I don't really like it. You know, can't really see many areas of unmitigated demand over here, so I'm not overly keen on probably trading this, to be fair. Now Euro USD, let's go down to Euro USD. So Euro USD has, I'm just going to delete this for a second. So there was our 4-hour high. Just going to delete that as well. So you can see Euro USD perfectly sold off into this 4-hour pullback. So you can see overall uptrend. Price had a 4-hour breaker structure. We came into this area of demand, and now we're kind of pushing back up. It'll be interesting to see what next week brings. You know, if we can continue pushing higher here, or do we get a pullback into this area of supply next week and we start selling off from this area? You know, because we do have this unmitigated supply, we have this liquidity now built on top above here, so this could be a good area for a, you know, but I wouldn't go in here aggressive. It would need to be we'll need to see like a 15-minute change of character, because overall we're still bullish on the 4-hour. So I would need to see like a change of character, the high on the 15-minute, in order to trade that. But this could be something good because we are in high time frame area of supply. Now GBP CHF, I was pretty gutted with this one. This is a textbook setup. Now you can see GBP CHF, I don't really like marking these things up, but it's in this wedge. You could see this. This seems just like a primed scenario for a breakout, and I'm more inclined to the upside now with this because the fact that CPI came in lower than expected for Swiss franc. So with that being said, CPI is CPI in the UK is still high, so we're still going to see interest rates being increased in the UK. So taking that into account, pretty confident that we'll see this breakout to the upside. But in terms of the intraday trade, so you could see there was a couple of things. We had tapped into this kind of wedge pattern already that we've been using as a resistance, a support, so to speak. But more importantly, as price was pushing down here, sorry guys, 1 second. take this down. So yeah, with GPCHF, if I go to the higher time frame, you can see we kind of approached this. So we were in this zone, so we kind of came down, and then on the 4 hour, you can see price failed to take out this previous low here. And then as we were coming down, we created this structure, and then we had a shift, we had to change the character to the top side. So as we kind of had that, you can see we had a perfect pullback into here. So once we mitigated this, I was looking at the lower time frame, which was the 15-minute, which again you could see here. So this was the pullback into that 4 hour range, and as we were coming down here, we created this lower low, lower high, lower low. We kind of had this change of character here. We came down and then we pushed above again. So as we pushed above, I had this region marked here from this low to this high, and we had this area of demand. And then last night at like 10 o'clock, price wicked into this and mitigated this, and then started to shoot off. So I was like, the trade was missed at that point. You know, I couldn't get into this because I'm not trading at that time. So then we've kind of had this push above, so we've now broken this structure on the 4 hour. So we're continuing up at least into this point of so-called resistance, or we have supply up over here at this high. Like I said, based on fundamentals, I see this continuing to the top side. So I think leading into next week, delete that, we have this region nicely. We have this area of demand, perfect inefficiency and imbalance that rests here. So next week, coming into this region, we could see some good buys from here, which are gonna be good. And GJ is the same kind of thing. GJ, we had a push above. GJ, I was expecting more of a retracement into this, which we might still get next week. You know, it might get a pullback into this and a continuation down, which is probably going to be the scenario that we get, but there'll probably be buys leading into next week. Again, we had a change of character here back to the top side. So if we look at the current structure, any kind of pullback into this region, you know, we are in an area of supply now, which could cause the pullback. So any kind of pullback here and seeing continuation to the top side, but I'm probably more inclined to some of the other yen pairs just based on how they've already completed their full pullbacks. GU, obviously end of the week, 4 hour had another breaker structure to the top side. We are kind of still hovering around this daily area of supply. I was expecting potential pullback from here with news. So if price just rejects this region here, you know, we've tapped into it once and pulled back. I think if we reject here, then there could be a trade opportunity. But again, it's the end of the week, so I'm not really interested. If price fails to break above there and rejects, could be a trade back down into this 4 hour pullback. So if we could just go to the M15, we do have an area of demand here, which could act as a good trade. It's just 8 hour trade and 102 pips. But again, price needs to kind of stay within this zone because there's not much else for price to continue pushing up to. But if it doesn't reject here, then there's no trade as of yet. And I'm not keen on buying this because the 4 hours had a breaker structure to the top side, so we can expect a 4 hour pullback. So that can happen at any point in time. You can see this is breaking through here. That can happen at any point in time. So if that's the case, I'm not really keen on getting into the market here. NZD CAD is looking good for shorts, even leading into next week. Now again, you could see higher time frame. from a weekly perspective, you know, we've had these big lower lows and lower highs forming in a pullback. So we had this low pullback, and then we had this huge push down, took out this structure, and then we had this pullback here. So the weekly pullback was completed here. On a daily, we've been creating this internal structure, lower low, lower high. Now again, we're kind of in this channel with this as well. And the only thing I don't like about these are the fact that we've not theoretically had any change of character to the downside, you know, because as we pushed up here, this is all internal. So all we're doing is we're like in this channel, which sometimes these kind of channels, you know, and patterns do work, not that I trade them, but you know, this could be something like this. We could get a retest into here before we kind of come down. But nonetheless, if we just look at market structure, how we see it, price pulled back into that. So this was our daily swing, daily high to daily low. We then pulled back. So for now, we at least have this range to trade and work with. And we've had obviously some bullish news. See, this is breaking through here. I'm just gonna. So we had some bullish news for the CAD unemployment rates and stuff. So seeing that, you know, we've had a M15 change of character, higher high, higher low, higher high. Then we kind of had a change of character here that aligns with that daily pullback area. So now again, leading into next week, we have an area of supply up here. We have this area here, and we have this imbalance here and above. So I'll be waiting for something like this, price to come back into this, then look to short from there, at least trade this pullback where you have this area of demand. Then if this fails, then a further entry to come down to this, break the daily low that was created here. So again, some stuff is setting up nicely leading into next week. USD CAD is again perfectly had a change of character there to the top side. We kind of had this swing zone, so price hasn't pulled all the way back, but after this massive expansion, we could probably expect this on USD CAD. Now intraday, that's where we had the change of character, price pulled back, and then we've kind of sold off. So there's probably buy opportunities on this next week based on this acting like the area of pullback. But we are in, with USD CAD, we are in kind of a sideways range, because on a daily it's just pretty choppy everywhere. But this could act as a good area from this demand. Buys back up into like some areas of supply further above there. And USD JPY again, that bounced nicely off of the demand zone. So yeah, pullback trades could be good on USD because we've had a change of character here. We have this unmitigated zone. So pull back into here for continuations up. Seems good. And what did I say about NAS? I said it yesterday. I'm just going to delete this. I said it yesterday, like looking at the 4 hour, you know, we had messy demand. You had like the extreme here, but then you had some candles over here before we had this expansion to the top side. And price just wicked into those and started pushing up. So next week, pretty good buy opportunity, I would say, from this region. So we've had a change of character up, 4-hour pullback is complete. So continuation trades to come up and mitigate this daily region will be good. This region will be really good leading into next week. So any kind of pullbacks back into this area, whether price comes all the way down here, we'll need to wait and see. Or if it reacts from this demand. We do have a demand further down here. But I think buyers are the play for next week. In gold, we've kind of spoken about it. I think this is all we're going to see now. So there's just, if I was anyone, don't get tempted to try trading this or anything. Just forget about it. Just go about your day, you know, because you kind of want to see some decent structure forming down here on lower time frame before you try trading this. Like I said, I would much prefer from here price sells off and then we start to have some change of character. Now look, we're seeing DXY coming into this area of just going to delete this supply zone here, delete this. So we are seeing DXY coming into this area of demand after this push up, so we could be just at least pulling back here off of this big push to the downside. So if that's the case, we're going to see some pairs potentially heading back down once we mitigate this demand. Let's have a look at some other potential pairs, what's happening. AUD-CHF looks good. Like I said from a weekly, this was the key area of reversal. In our fib, look at this weekly candle. Huge bullish weekly candle. Heading back to the top side. Look at the last few daily candles. We had supply here. If we break out of this, any pullbacks, continuations. So that just aligns pretty well. You know, originally we had price react from this area of supply, and then we came down, price fell to break below this, and now it's breaking above. So if we can get a clean break, which it looks like we will, then pullbacks for continuations are going to be pretty interesting. And I think this is a long-term zone that price was waiting to get into as well. Yeah, see, this is just pushing up, breaking up. Now again, if we mark the low to the high, look where price pulled back into. So you have this, doing that. So now AUD USD is in quite an interesting position. And again, I missed my trade down here yesterday, but I literally pretty gutted. There was my zone. There was the change of character here. After we had this break above, pull back, change of character, same price is going to continue higher. And I missed it there, and it's my fault to be fair, because I could have gotten on a lower time frame. So even though price never tapped into, like, it was like 1.5 pips away or something from my zone, where it came in here, you could see as we came down here, boom, we then had a break above here, so we took out this supply. There's our indication on a lower time frame that price has shifted bullish. There's our zone. We could have just taken an entry there, and the target was always into this region, because from a high time frame perspective, that's where price was headed, because it was a 4-hour pullback zone, which you could see here after we had the breaker structure. So we'll see if this area holds into next week, but we have started to create some, you know, we've got structure now. We had a higher high, higher low, we had a higher high, higher low, and now we've created a high here. So this is the internal structure that we're working with now. So if we're going to see downside, we're going to need this fib area to hold and see some sort of a change of character on the 15 minutes to tell us the 4-hour pullback is complete, so we could then look to trade this. So patience is key. Now, you know, again, GBP USDs, there's not to say that we're not going to see sells coming into next week. You know, remember, we've now created this M15 internal breaker structure. So we've created this. We've already had a 4-hour change of character, breaker structure to the upside. So we are still within that critical area. So any kind of shift in market direction, and we could then start trading the 4-hour pullback. But I wouldn't have bought here because it's so extended, because it's in this high time frame supply. Gold is just crawling. So hopefully that makes sense. If there's any pairs, guys, just drop it in the chat. If you're new, feel free to join our free Discord. And I appreciate if you hit the thumbs up button. Much appreciated. CAD CHF, again, another one that was I've had a few this week that, but again, these are just opportunities leading into next week. You know, yes, I missed it. You could see we had a 4-hour break here, 4-hour break here. CAD CHF has just been all-time lows. You could see we're at all-time lows, and now we're finally starting to see some weakness coming in for CAD. So, you know, what's the range we have right now? We have this current high to this low. So we have price at least going back into this area. I think we'll sweep liquidity above these highs here. And we have a nice area of inefficiency above here. And we've perfectly taken out this area of supply here on the 4-hour. So I think, you know, we could definitely get a deeper retracement. We do have some supply here, but I think we could definitely start to see price pushing higher from this point. And actually, I'm just going to shift this to yeah, so I definitely think price could head towards there, but we've had a nice push. There's our break. Now we've had a change of character to the top side on high time frame, because originally the trade that I was looking at was trading the pullback into this region. You know, because there's our 4-hour high, there's our 4-hour low, because we had the 4-hour break here. Here you could see the change of character telling us that we've entered a pullback. At that time it was a pullback because we didn't know if price was going to continue higher or come lower. The whole price action was bearish. So there was the change of character. You know, there was the pullback into, actually, 1 second here. There was we just missed the pullback by literally virtually a few pips. But then once we had a breaker structure here, I then missed the next entry, which was this. Just perfect into this demand. And if I'd caught that, we just rallied after that. So yeah, it is what it is. But let's go, just messing about. But yeah, so next week, pretty nice. Just look for some pullbacks and continuations on this. And again, perfect unmitigated area of demand that rests here now. So retracements back into here for continuation plays. Back to the top side. On CAD CHF. CAD JPY is beautiful as well. Perfect pullback into that zone. Now again, just saw the change of character here. Was just waiting for the pullback. Never happened. I'm going to delete this alert. That's what happens on days where there's news, but it is what it is. I'm sure we'll get a retracement from this area now. Just going to delete this fib. So if we can get a kind of pullback and then target this high and look to continue pushing up into this area of supply. Not really interested in CHF JPY. Euro AUD. So Euro AUD is in higher time frame supply, as you can see on a daily. So we had a daily breaker structure, and now price is in this daily area of demand. We already wicked into it once here, you could see, and then we tried to push off, but price failed, and then we started to sell off. So the likelihood of this area of demand holding up from this high time frame supply is pretty slim. So saying that, any kind of break and pullback for continuations to trade the daily pullback will be pretty good. And we have areas of unmitigated demand and demand sitting here as trade opportunities for next week. So EuroCAD is BTC. I'll have a look at BTC. Let's look at BTC first for you. So Bitcoin's, I did some analysis yesterday, to be fair, and let me just break this down for you here and kind of show you the power of what we trade and how we trade and how that gives us an opportunity. Gold is making a bit of pushes here. AC, what do you mean? AUD CAD? Is that what you're talking about? If so, no, Joe, I've not yet. Have I? I can go back over it. I can't remember, to be fair. So yeah, let's look at Bitcoin, right? Let's do a bit of analysis on Bitcoin, right? So just gonna delete this here. So you can see this is our daily push, right? We had a daily breaker structure here. I'll have a look at that, Joe. I'm sorry, I've not missed answering your question in chat. I've just been pretty busy. I'll get back to you later on that. So yeah, Bitcoin. Right, so we had a daily breaker structure here, and then we came into this weekly area of supply and we started to reject. So if we come down, you can see demand failed here, but let's go to the 4-hour time frame. So how are we going to trade a daily pullback? We need to see the 4-hour shift. So the 4-hour, we had a high, we had a pullback, we then created a new high, we then had a pullback, we then created this new high, and then you could see here price closed below here and we had a change of character just over here to the downside. So once we had a change of character, this is our 4-hour, so once we've had a change of character, what can we anticipate? You know, we can anticipate a pullback. Let's just play this out. Sideways price action. So as it stands, let's see what price does here. Did we break the low? Okay, yeah, so here we have a breaker structure in the M15. So still the 4-hour is bearish. This entire push is the 4-hour push to the downside. So to change of character here. So price just rallies off to the top side. Let's go to the higher time frame for a second. Let's see what happened here. So price comes up. Price pulls back, mitigates this area of supply, then comes back, and I think it rejects off of demand here. Yeah, so we reject off of demand here, and I think we were kind of in this range. So we reject off of demand up here, come back up, supply holds, and then we kind of come back down. And then here I believe there was some trades that I had seen, but I failed to get into them. So at this point now you could see we created this M15 lower low, lower high, lower low. Boom, we had a change of character here. So now we can see that we've entered this pullback from this huge push down. Now what do we have up here? We have an area of supply over here, and we have an area of supply sitting further up here. Now what aligns with our fib confluence? Let's see. So it's this area of supply here, right? So we've got a trade opportunity up to here. If we get a retracement back into this demand zone, we could trade this back up because we've had a change of character. You know, we could just put it here, just use the entire swing. Let's just continue this higher. So all internal structure forming at this point. So we're in a pullback. So here price literally misses our region here. So wouldn't have caught that. Tap into this area of supply. What do we do next? Now we have this range. Have an area of demand. So are we going to continue deeper? Are we going to come down into this area and retest that zone again? So back up into this area. So this is where we're at now. So if we look at this and look at price, so overall we've been bearish. We shifted bearish, had a change of character, but after this huge push down that we had, this is all internal, but we've just been in a pullback. So if I just mark the fib from the high to the low again, we've tested that retracement point, but yet we need to wait now. So on BTC, all I would say is, unless price pushes above this and creates a new high in this 4-hour swing structure, if we see any rejection on the M15 to the downside, we could take a trade. So you could see here, price pulled back. Here, there was this pullback. We then created a new high here, and I'm sure price pulled back into this. Yeah, you could see here, price pulled back into this demand and continues pushing up, and it's had a break here. So the M15 in this pullback is still bullish. Overall, I'm bearish on the daily pullback, so I do think there's downside back into potentially 22,000, 23,000, but we need to see a shift, because we've just started to range after this 4-hour change of character here that we had. We've just kind of supply and demand have been bouncing between each other, and we're kind of in this range, this huge drop, and then prices, you know, as we know, price can retest this fib a few times. We just need to see, right, okay, if we're going to sell off from here, we need to see the M15 structure shift within this pullback, which right now you can see the M15 is bullish. So if the M15 shifts, then we can start to trade back to the downside and start to take out a lot of these lows. Till that point, Bitcoin's just kind of in a range, and you probably want to leave it there until you get some clear, decisive price action. So you had said AUD CAD. So AUD CAD for me is pretty choppy. Like I personally, I'm just like, it's not a pair I'm really interested in. I think there's, you know, we had a breaker structure on the higher time frame above this swing structure. You know, we took this swing structure, we took this, we entered a pullback after we had this big push up. I do think there's still downside in this, because we have this unmitigated area of demand and we have this demand with this imbalance here. So if we mark the entire swing, you could see this zone. I'm just going to delete this low one here. This zone sits pretty nicely. So we're still bearish from a daily perspective, kind of coming down into this pullback, but we had this huge push to the upside, and on a 4-hour chart, we've kind of just gone a bit all over the place. You know, we created these equal lows here. So the last kind of, all of this is pretty much equal here, right? So the last breaker structure that we had was, we had this push down, pull back, and then we had this drop. So as it stands, we're kind of in this range. We have this high, and we kind of have the low point here. So we're kind of in this range, right? So internally, we're creating these higher highs and higher lows. But and we've created this demand now. So, you know, is price going to start pushing back from this point? Well, you kind of want to see a breakout of this region, and then price can start to head up. Or are we going to continue down to mitigate this demand before we start to see structure shift? So we're kind of within this range. We've created this liquidity at the bottom. It's pretty messy, so not a pair that I would really be interested in or be watching anytime soon. You know, price action isn't the greatest on this pair. On the other hand, like I said, Euro CAD. So if we look at Euro CAD, why is this so dark? Right, so EuroCAD, if we look at EuroCAD, so, and this is going back such a long time, but you can see EuroCAD, we had this. So originally we created this lower low, lower high, lower low, higher high, boom. Created this low, and then we start to do this and we start to pull back. So we had this massive sell-off and then price started to pull back. So if I mark this high to low, look where we pull back into, that perfect fib, and then we start to sell off. So we had this on a weekly, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, and then boom, we shifted bearish, right? Now this is the key pullback area. Now we do have supply up here, but we have this area of supply. You can see on a weekly. So if you just mark this out. Now remember, what do I always say? Typically price rejects from the 50% of the Gann box, right? So look at that on a weekly chart. We wicked in to mitigate this 70 to 79% fib zone. We swept liquidity above some of these highs, and look where we closed on both candles on the weekly. We closed below that 50% of the Gann box. So we have this aggressive supply area. The pullback is complete. So from this point, I'm probably expecting some downside. How far down? We'll need to wait and see, but I think we definitely have downside. So if we then go to the daily and refine this supply, you know, that's kind of up over here. So we know we've mitigated that. But what I'm personally looking for is, currently we have this 4-hour breaker structure. Can we break this? Then start shorting this. You know, am I keen on buying this? Not really, because we already tried attempting it and we kind of failed. We had this minor pullback and then we're coming back down. But because we're in that weekly supply zone and reversal area, I would like to just see a break of this and then a pullback to continue shorting on the daily. And then that just gives us lots of unmitigated areas of demand for price to come back and mitigate. Gold is just crawling. Euro CHF is too horrible. I'm not really interested. Hey Anko, don't have a clue what you said, but all good, whoever it is. Euro JPY is the same, so all the JPY pairs have been the same, you know, just not had a pullback in order to trade this. So just again, just need to be patient and wait. I'm just going to delete my limit, my alert. No worries, Anko. So, you know, we could see on the lower time frame, you know, we started to push off from this region. Now obviously structure over here is, you know, we had the last pullback and then we had this sell off here, so kind of want to see with this a break above this with a pullback to continue pushing price higher. But we have reacted off of that. But again, we're entering this area of supply, so we'll wait and see if price comes back, because we have an unmitigated area of demand at the bottom here. Now how does that align? That aligns pretty nicely. If you look at it, we have all of this liquidity built up here. We have this imbalance here. There's our fib, and just below that we have that demand. So any kind of retracement from up here back into here should be looking for buyers leading into next week. So Euro USD, we've already spoken about it. GA, I covered this off the other day. NZD CAD, I've mentioned this, pullback and continuation shorts. This was the daily pullback area. And again, look at another one. Price closes, look where 50% of the Gann box. NZD-CHF, so we see a nice pop to the upside on this, break above current structure. So let's look at the daily. Where's the daily range? Box Euro GBP. Yeah, I'll cover it again. I went over it a little while ago, but Euro GBP. So my analysis for a while has been price heading down into 0.86149 region. So you can see on a daily here to take out this imbalance and sweep. We have lots of liquidity here on the daily, lots and lots of liquidity resting below here. So currently on an intraday basis we could see, so we have liquidity there. So as price was pushing higher, we created, we created this higher low. We had this higher over here, and then we kind of had a change of character down over here because we took out these lows, and then price perfectly pulled back. It's creating these higher highs and higher lows here, and then we had a change of character to indicate the pullback is complete, and now we're heading to the downside, and then price perfectly pulled back and started to sell off. So we're taking out this swing low and sweeping this liquidity, and we're working our way down to fill out this imbalance. So we kind of have something like this now. We have this impulsive leg, there was the correction, and now we're heading back into the impulsive leg. So I would personally say, looking for some pullbacks next week and continuations down to trade into that 0.86200 kind of region where that demand is sitting and that inefficiency is, and sweep all of that liquidity. So there's no trade in the immediate right now, but you want to wait for a pullback into like areas of supply, something like this. We have liquidity resting above here, we have some areas of supply above that I would personally wait for to look at trading Euro GBP. Hopefully that makes sense. No worries at all. And again, this was for my lifetime members. They'll know this has been the analysis for a couple of weeks now for Euro GBP, and price perfectly came back into that pullback zone. As you could see, the way we use our Fibonacci, unmitigated supply, price mitigates it, and then there were trades on the lower time frame because as price kind of came into this region, we shifted here, came back to the highs, retested, and then we kind of started to sell off. So yeah, just wait for a pullback, and then you should have some good run down if we get a pullback back into these regions. A trade from up here, stops above this area, continuation down. So it's like, I would say for pullback there, it's like a nice 170 plus pips to the downside. What was I on? I think I was on NZD. No, I covered that. NZD CHF, I think it was. Yeah. So NZD CHF, we could see on a weekly we had a breaker structure here. And now we have, I'm still expecting price to head back up to fill out this inefficiency. Now this is obviously looking at a weekly chart right now, so need to be mindful. But on the daily, you can see the last daily breaker structure was here. Swing breaker structure. So currently, if that's the case, where's our daily range? This is our daily range. And we do have within here, you could see, we have a perfect area of supply that is unmitigated. Remember guys, anyone that's new, I appreciate, hit the like button, subscribe to our YouTube and join our free Discord. The link should be in the description. If it doesn't work, let me know. I'll update it, because it for some reason sometimes just stops working. So yeah, so from a why am I anticipating a daily pullback? Because we've seen a 4-hour shift in market structure. You know, let's look at this. Where was our last pullback? Our last pullback was here, and then we kind of sold off, and now we came up here and we've shifted. You know, we've had a change of character here. Well, it's more say a 4-hour break of structure, because we kind of had a retracement before we broke above. So now any kind of pullbacks, continuations to the top side on the 4-hour. So this could be good. Now, am I waiting for price to come here? Yeah, probably within this region is a good region to come back into. Like I said, with the bearish fundamentals for NZD, for CHF, with less than expected inflation, it's like 2.6%. It's pretty low. Please show me clear view. Can you guys not see my chart properly? Is that not clear? Anchor, can one of you guys let me know if my chart is clear or is it not clear? It is clear, yeah? Right, okay. Thanks, guys. Yeah, I thought as much. I thought it would be pretty clear. See, this is good now. I'm liking this on gold, because we're now creating some structure. You know, it'd be nice coming into next week. We see another drop and we kind of just see some structure forming here, and then see that shift. That'd be beautiful on gold. Now, one to look at on USD CHF as always. USD CHF is in this monthly area of demand. Now, bear in mind, this is the month, right? We've got that last candle before we had this aggressive push, which broke above this, and then price started to shift bullish. And then obviously we kind of came back in from here. You can now see we're rejecting that monthly zone. But we do need to see a cleaner break. So we are creating this structure, right, to the downside. Masya, it's nearly done. I've got a couple of videos to go. I've just been so burnt out with doing a lot of the videos and a lot of the content that I just needed a couple of days break. I was anticipating to get it done. Oh, it's a PDF and it's videos, so it's not just a PDF. It's videos as well, and it's all on a proper site and stuff, so it's fully accessible. So it's not far off. I've just got, I think, like four videos or something to do. So it'll probably realistically be by like middle of next week now, because I'm away for the next couple of days. So when I come back, I'll just complete those videos and then upload them. The PDF is done. That's all completed. But it's all going to get uploaded onto the site. So I don't want to start sending lifetime members out stuff, some parts now and then later. So next week, but it's worth the wait for sure. So yeah, USD CHF, you can see we're kind of printing lower lows and lower highs. We had this low, we kind of had this pullback, and then we came down. What I'd like to see is a break above this, break out of this supply, and then a pullback to start trading this potentially back up, because higher time frame you go, this has just been selling off aggressively for a long time. So we could see some upside with some weakness now coming in for CHF. So this is one to watch out for. Again, you know, look what we're rejecting from that 50% of that monthly GAM box demand zone. USD JPY, we've already spoken about this. So next week will just be pullbacks and continuations will be the play. Let's look at, oh, look where I said oil was going to start. Where did I say is Mills here? I told, like, look at that wick we had, but look where price closed on oil. There is the demand. Look where we close, within that 50% of the GAN box. So here you can see we broke above this structure. We didn't pull back deep enough. And now we're starting to push off to the upside. So I think a break above this supply and then pullbacks or continuations are going to be good on oil for big pushes to the top side. I called this area last week. You can see perfect closure within that fib, within that GAM box. Now we kind of covered this last week as well, and what did I say? I think I mentioned it last week when price was pushing up. We had this 4-hour breaker structure, but overall on a higher time frame, I said we were bearish, heading down, and this was the 4-hour high that needed to be protected, because this was the high that caused the low to break, and this was all the pullback. So we never broke above that high. We had this 4-hour breaker structure, and then now we've had a change of character to the downside. It's quite interesting on US 30. So now if we're looking at this, we have our entire swing here. We have this perfect unmitigated zone with this imbalance and this area of supply. For price to pull back and continue selling off to the downside. You know, because the pullback is complete. We've come to this extreme. And now we've shifted market structure, because until this point, we created a higher high, higher low. Kind of had this high, higher low. We had this high, we had a pullback, and then we had this high above, and then boom, we took out that low, and we've got to change of character back to the downside. So now retracements back into here. Could be a good indication for shorts, but until that point, there could be buyers up until this region here. So next week again, pullbacks or continuations until we head back into like that 34,000 psychological region. Does anyone have any questions, any pairs? Otherwise, I think I've covered a lot of pairs. You know, go back and watch the stream, and that's like the weekly watch list more or less done. I'll rewatch the stream later. Can't wait. It's just excited for no worries at all, Marcia. No worries, Ankor. No worries, Divesh. Yep, catch you later, Joe. Have a good weekend, guys. Another good, positive, profitable week. And we go again next